Welcome back to The Core, coming to you live from Channels Television Studio in Abuja, Nigeria. We're talking about the enormous cost of running for political office in Nigeria and how this impacts negatively on the electoral process. Now, coming back to the panel, Mr. Onigbinde, why are elections, we've all agreed that running for elective positions in Nigeria is really expensive. Why? Why is this expensive?
Okay, so I'm not a politician, but I pay attention to politics. I know that in the process, there's a process of nomination. And you just don't even wake up to say, I want to run for public office. There's a long list of community engagement that have to happen with some power brokers within the community. So that goes with some form of settlement. Then it comes to the point where you have the primaries, so you have to pay the delegates. And because sometimes the delegates are abandoned for a period. But the only time they are waiting for you is during the election period. And it is their harvest period. So they wait for you there. Then you now have to go into the main election and the whole electioneering cost. And now it's getting much more difficult because even people think it's already in intra-primary systems that you could once you pass the delegate system, then you can face the electorate in the bigger space. But now there's a contractual approach going on in that space. We saw that in Ekiti. There was an alarm already in Anambra. Now that became much more louder in Ekiti because it was clear that there was vote buying on a massive scale. And so, for me, where would that money come from? Is it that you are directly stealing it from the public treasury, or you are directly going to take it back? It's like a preloaded or a pre-funded system. They're going to definitely take it. But that's where all the practices for transparency, for accountability get to be difficult because people need to get their funds back.
Mr. Onigbinde, would direct primaries, like what we're hearing from possibly from APC, would it help? Would it reduce, the cost of elections?
Yeah, it can. it can, because now you're playing with a large mass of people. But it could also be retailed. So maybe in the point where you were given 5,000 naira, because some delegates get at least 1 million naira to be committed, for you. So maybe it could be much more retail that becomes a 5,000 naira system. It doesn't take it away. It's just that it's still going to happen. But for me, if you look at 2011 elections, 2015 elections, 2015 was clear. If you look at what makes a national security advisor give money to people in the other political parties, most of the cases you hear right now, it's because the campaign finance structure is at the root of corruption.
Okay. Ms. Hassan, you smiled when I said if direct primaries will be better. What do you think?
Because it's about mandate protection. It makes selling votes easier. Because this time around, if it's direct, you are not going to collect my money and you are not going to not queue behind me. Because somebody is actually there trying to ensure that you do that. But maybe that will be a money saver for politicians also. Because it means you can't take from 2, 3, or 4 persons, really, in this sense. But to go back to the issue, really, the question we should be asking, we shouldn't be narrating the problems all the time. We should also ask, who is responsible for such a system? One, it's the political class. 2, it's the society as well. And getting out of it comes back to the society and the political class actually agreeing to it. We tend to talk so much about campaign financing, how so much money is actually being spent, but we do not even think in terms of the fact that the political parties themselves could be the gatekeepers. So what stops a PDM, which Alhaji Bashir, for instance, is heading, to look at how much the PDP, the APC, and co are going to be spending in campaigns? In 2015, for instance, the PDP had a campaign fundraiser where they spent like 2 billion naira was raised. That was in clear contravention of the law. But what happened? INEC said they had no right to enforce. No private citizen group tried to look at it and even kickstart a test case.
Okay, I'm going to talk to Mr. Bashir Yusuf, Interparty. What can be done to reduce this cost? She's talking about solutions. What can be done to reduce this cost?
I think there are no easy fixes. There are no easy ways out. As a society, generally, things are not going right in all spheres of our life. Admittedly, politics is one of the most important aspects of life. So fixing things in politics will have a ripple effect in other areas. But you can't isolate one aspect of our life and fix it without fixing other aspects. So everybody in their own corner, in their own sphere, in their own silo, has to do something because I mean, if the electorate refuses to collect the money, let's start with that. Because I mean, the biggest loser in money politics is the voter. Because once your vote is bought, I mean, you know somebody is investing in it. So you can't come after the person has won an election. I want to hold that person accountable. So let's start by saying, okay, people must resist this attitude of coming to pay them off, because it's so demeaning that for me to vote, that I have to collect something from anyone. I mean, to mortgage my future for 4 years, for a stipend.
Okay. To INEC, Mrs. Yusuf talked about, you know, the fundraising that happened in 2014, run up to the 2015 general elections. Why is it so difficult for INEC to enforce the cap on spending?
Okay. I think part of the challenge to us, not just INEC, but as a country, is that the laws themselves does not cover all aspects of finance that we should train. For example, there's provision or limits for candidates who wants to contest for offices. There are limits for expenditure for candidates. But there's no limit provided for the political party. And then when you go for reporting, there's no law requiring the candidate to report his expenses, but the law only requires the political party to report the expenses. So this skewed arrangement doesn't allow for adequate tracking of the finances.
But even the areas that the law allows for, you know, for the candidates themselves, we've not seen much INEC do much in this regard.
When you talk about fundraising, there are situations where a candidate or a political party calls for a fundraising event. When you arrive there, they all know the law, that no individual or entity can donate more than 1 million naira. So what they do is they bring names of people and allocate 1 million to them. So for you to track something, you must have the evidence. You must assume that to prosecute, you must go to court.